Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Musings. This is your host, Dr. Padmaja Nandigama. In continuation with Bhagavad Gita series, today I'm going to talk about sthithapragyatha, meaning steady wisdom. Bhagavad Gita, in some of the slokas in chapter 2, from verse 54 to 72, has described the characteristics of a person of steady wisdom. It has been explained as to what are the attributes of such an evolved soul who is firmly situated in the divine consciousness. How does he conduct himself? Sthita means steady, and pragya means wisdom. Sthithapragna refers to a person of steady wisdom, the one who has experienced the truth from within. One who has situational stability, emotional stability, self control, tranquility, and peace of mind is termed as sthithapragna. So let's look at each of these attributes. Situational stability is described in verse 56 in chapter 2, and it says, Dukkeshvanudvikmanaha sukeshu vigataspruhaha Vitaraghabhayakrodha sthitadhirmuniruchyate. So, what is the meaning of this? It says, an enlightened person does not allow the mind to harbor the material frailties of lust, anger, greed, envy, etc. Only then can the mind steadily contemplate on transcendence and be fixed in the divine. If one permits the mind to brood over miseries, then the contemplation on the divine ceases. So, the next, we're going to focus on emotional stability. Emotional stability is described in verse 57 of chapter 2. Yah sarvatrani sneha tat tat prapya subhasubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya pragya pratishtita. One who remains unattached under all conditions and is neither delighted by good fortune nor dejected by tribulation, he is a sage with perfect knowledge. He whose mind remains unperturbed in the midst of sorrows, who does not get excited amid pleasures, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, such a person is called a sage of settled intelligence. The third attribute, self control, is described in verse 59. It says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param društva nivartate. Aspirants may restrain the senses from their objects of enjoyment, but the taste for the sense objects remains. However, even this taste ceases for those who realizes the supreme. Even while abstaining from sense enjoyments, the taste for them may still remain. Even this taste vanishes when the supreme is seen. Tranquility is explained in verse 64 of chapter 2. And it says, Ragadvesha vimuktaistu vishayanindriyaischaran atmavaisvairvideyatma prasadamadigacchati. The meaning of this verse is one who controls the mind and is free from attachment and aversion, even while using the objects of the senses, attains the grace of God. And the fifth characteristic of sthithapragna is peace. And it's explained in verse 71, which says, Vihaya kamanyaha sarvan umamscharati nispruhaha Nirmamo nirahankaraha sasantimadhigacchati. That person who gives up all material desires and lives free from a sense of greed, proprietorship, and egoism attains perfect peace. So, when one gives up all the desires of his mind and when his soul is content in itself, he is then called a man of study wisdom, sthithapragna. To summarize, in these slokas, Lord Krishna has stressed upon control of the senses, equanimity of the mind, conquest of fear and anger, freedom from attachment, tempering of the passion, and fixing the consciousness on the Supreme Lord. When such a person remains content in himself, he then is called a sage of steady wisdom. Such a sthithapragna sage is not a slave of the senses. He is indifferent to the taste of the senses. He neither loves nor hates them. He controls them through the power of his mind. He is thus his own master. The above description does not mean that there is no charm in the life of such a person of steady wisdom. On the other hand, such a developed soul enjoys the life more because he finds joy from within. His happiness is long lasting because it does not depend upon outside objects or external circumstances. As they say in psychology, of one who has internal locus of control, believe in themselves versus external forces, and take responsibilities of their actions. So when they do that, they have better control on outcome of the events in their lives. Sthithapragna is cheerful internally because he is liberated from the desires. He's never disappointed because he never covets anything. He's not jealous of anyone. He's never plagued by anxiety and depression because he has learned the art of maintaining psychological equilibrium in all situations. Sthithapragna gratefully accepts whatever comes his way without excitement and without any complaint. But the grateful acceptance is not the same as passive acceptance. It does not mean that one should not make efforts to get what is one's due. Krishna did not ask Arjuna to accept whatever was offered to him. He was asked to fight without attachment and with a calm and equanimous mind. He was taught as to how one can be free from grief. When one has an equanimous mind and is free from fear and anger, is endowed with patience, remains content in himself, and whose mind is focused, whose senses are under control, and who is led not by impulses, by considered opinion, such a person of illumined intelligence is most likely to succeed in whatever he does. When such an attitude becomes spontaneous in one's life, he moves from hopelessness to hope. He moves from distress to delight. So, a question is often asked as to whether these ideals described in the above shlokas can be of any real relevance in day to day life of a common man. Is it humanly possible to achieve such a state of mind, even while remaining physically and mentally active in this world of fierce competition? The answer to this question is to be found in Gita itself, wherein it is stated that only very few people are able to achieve perfection. Still, the standards set in the Gita are worth emulating. No effort on this path ever goes waste. Degree of success corresponds to the amount of effort made. The teachings of Gita are applicable equally to everyone, whatever be his profession, vocation, or situation in life. So, to conclude, Sthithapragna is a sage who has risen above the never ending desires and is firmly set in the divine consciousness. That state of being may be difficult to achieve, but the principles laid down in Bhagavad Gita in this regard are universally applicable. Anyone who follows them, even partially, can benefit immensely. He can then lead a much more satisfying and meaningful life. So, thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. Practice peace and tranquility in your life. Till next time, have a good day. and stay healthy and stay happy.